The Story Dragon podcast presents The Trails of Whispering Woods. It was the first warm day of spring, and the sun poured through the towering trees of Whispering Woods, a beautiful and thickly forested area that was full of animals and plant life for all to enjoy. Many years ago, it had simply been a place for the town to drain water. It still had the old concrete drainage pipes sticking out of hillsides and buried in the bottom of steep trenches under the mighty oak trees, but they had not shed a drop of water in years. The city had set up a second system that took most of the water somewhere else. So Whispering Woods was put to a new use, and the town built a gorgeous system of hiking trails with beautiful wooden bridges. Once a bustling walking path for the townspeople, the trails had been forgotten in recent years when a nearby factory closed down and the families moved away to look for work. The old trails twisted through the forest like veins, dotted with wooden bridges, crossing over sparkling creeks, and for 4 kids, they were anything but forgotten. They all met there every day to hang out after school and enjoy their beautiful private oasis. Mason, Clara, Ethan, and Sophie had claimed the abandoned woods as their own. Each afternoon, they pedaled their bikes along the cracked trails, the breeze rushing past as they soared over the wooden bridges that stretched over the numerous creeks. They raced through the winding hilly paths, kicking up the dirt from the deep trenches carved by years of rain runoff. Their bike tires could be heard crunching through the dry leaves on the hillsides, and their laughter was heard as they played every day. They really loved some of the oldest trees that towered above the forested hills. Some of them were so big around that even when the friends circled the tree trunk, they couldn't touch each other's hands. One afternoon, Clara skidded her bike to a halt. "Look over there," she pointed. Beyond the tangle of vines, a large cement pipe jutted from the hillside. It was one of the many drainage pipes that snake beneath the trails. "Wow, it's huge," Mason said. The friends scrambled over the exposed roots and vines, peeking into the pipe. It looked like something from a lost civilization, wrapped in roots from the nearby trees. It was dry and wide. On the other side of it, they could see a small clearing surrounded by thick trees and hidden from view. "This is cool, but it would be too dangerous for a hideout. What if it floods?" said Sophie. "It's so low on the hill. If something were to happen, water would pour right in." "We need to find higher ground," Clara nodded. "Somewhere where we can see the trails and the creek, too." The kids explored further, eventually climbing a grassy hill that rose above the twisted paths. From here, they could see the wooden bridges, the rushing creek, and even the old drainage pipes below. "This is it," Mason declared. "This is where we'll build our new hideout." They gathered branches and leaves, building walls for their fort. Ethan even found an old metal sign half buried in the dirt that was hard to read but said Whispering Woods. They used it as part of the ceiling for their fort to deflect the rain. From their perch, they could spot anyone approaching and watch the water winding through the woods. Days passed as they transformed the spot into a proper fort. They dragged old wooden crates to sit on and crafted a makeshift roof of branches. But the best surprise came when they heard a faint whimpering sound nearby. "Shh," Clara hushed. "Did you hear that?" The kids followed the sound, pushing past the underbrush. There, tangled in a bush, was a scruffy brown dog with muddy fur and gentle eyes. "Hey, buddy," Mason whispered, kneeling down. "It's okay." The dog wagged its tail, licking Mason's hand. "He must be a stray," Sophie said softly. "We can take care of him." "He can live in our fort," Ethan added. They named him Rusty after his reddish-brown fur. Over the next few days, they brought old towels, washed him in the creek, and brushed out the tangles. Rusty looked great. He quickly became a part of their crew, following them along the trails and curling up by the fort. Then, one morning, dark clouds rolled in across the sky. The kids huddled beneath their fort's roof, listening to the distant rumbles of thunder. "We should head back," Clara suggested nervously. "Just a little longer," Mason pleaded. "It's barely sprinkling." But within moments, the rain came in torrents. Water gushed through the dry ditches, turning them into rushing streams. The creek swelled, and the old drainage pipes roared as they channeled the water. "The pipes!" Ethan shouted. "They're filling up!" The kids grabbed their bikes, but the paths were already slick with mud. They pushed through over one of the wooden walkways. Suddenly, a surge of water rushed through one of the ditches. The water went right up over the low bridge and swept Mason off his feet. "Mason!" Sophie screamed. Rusty barked wildly and then leapt into the water without hesitation. The current carried Mason toward one of the massive drainage pipes. He grasped at roots and rocks, but the force was too strong. Just as he reached the mouth of the pipe, Rusty caught his sleeve with his teeth. The dog kicked against the water, pulling Mason back inch by inch until he reached the muddy bank. Gasping for air, Mason collapsed, Rusty licking his face frantically. "You saved me, Rusty," Mason whispered, wrapping his arms around the dog. When the rain finally eased, the kids led Mason back to the fort, shaken but safe. They knew the storm had changed something. Whispering Woods wasn't just their playground anymore. It was a place they would always remember. A place of memories, of courage, and of friendship. Later that week, Mason's parents allowed him to adopt Rusty. Though the woods had been a great place to spend time that summer, they didn't want to get caught in a flood like that ever again. It was way too dangerous. They were lucky that Rusty was there, and they decided that they learned their lesson. They stayed friends forever, and they found an even better place a few miles away. It was a much nicer location in the woods, by a lake, and it was a simply relaxing place with no pipes at all. Their days of dealing with floods were over, so they built a new fort, took up fishing, and swam in the crystal clear water all summer long. And there you have it, everybody. That's one more episode of the Story Dragon podcast. Hope you liked it, and you can look forward to another episode next week. Have a great day, everybody.